Hey, if you are on the fence about going to college, or if you don't know if you should go to college, I have the perfect episode for you. So please stay tuned after the music so you can understand why college might not be for you. See you then. Welcome to the Lazenby Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Lazenby, and I'm here to help you along your journey to your success. I will do this by sharing my experiences, as well as give tips and tricks I've learned through my current journey to receive my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. Throughout this season, I'll be covering topics including myths about college, transfer advice, networking, and much more. So get your pen and paper ready as we dive into each episode to take in something that gets you closer to your success. Welcome to episode 2, season 2 of the Lazenby Experience Podcast. Season 2, we're talking about why college isn't for everyone. But before we get into those reasons, I want to have a short little story time. So before I start recording my episodes of this season, I wrote down all the episodes that I wanted to have. And one of the episodes that I was originally going to have was why college can be for everyone. But I did some research, and after really thinking about it, I felt a little bit different. I still had a little bit of the same feeling, but I had a little bit of different feeling about that type of episode. And I feel like the cons outweighed the pros of an episode about why college can be for everyone. So I end up doing the reverse, or the total opposite, of in saying why college isn't for everyone, which is this episode today. But before we get into the reasons why I feel college isn't for everyone, I want to talk about personally. College for me wasn't pushed on by my parents. Of course, they felt like college was a good next step after high school to be successful in life, but they wasn't pushing me. They wasn't telling me I have to go. More, they wanted me to be happy with whatever decision I made and be able to live a lifestyle that I want to live after I graduate high school. It was talked a lot about with my teachers from high school, my advisor, and even some of the students that I've graduated high school with. A lot of them were talking about college and going to college and having that experience. So I did have some people who were pushing me to go to college and giving me advice to go to college. But honestly, if I knew what I know now, not just about my specific college program or degree program, but about college in general and what I could have done instead, I probably either would have did something else before I went to a 4-year university, or maybe not even went at all, depending on what my next path have been. But I definitely probably would have went to community college first, and then based off what I've done in community college and what career opportunities I had and what I wanted to do after that, I probably would have been able to make a better decision on whether to go to a 4-year university. But that's in the past. That's something I can't change, but I can help someone else make that decision on whether they should or shouldn't go to college. So let's get into this episode of why college isn't for everyone. And let's start with the number one reason. It's too expensive. A lot of people don't get academic scholarships or athletic scholarships or get enough grants to cover everything without taking out loans. And it's totally okay to not want to have to take out loans. So if you couldn't get enough scholarships or get enough grants to take out loans for college, maybe you could find another way to get the education to do what you want to do. Of course, you can find other ways, which I will be talking about. And even though there are a lot of scholarships out there, some people didn't want to put in or don't want to put in effort to write that essay or fill out that scholarship application, or maybe they did fill it out, they just didn't win the scholarship, so they wasn't able to get the money to go to college. And again, they didn't want to have to take out loans to go to college, so they didn't want to go to college, which again is totally fine, because college is not the only way to be successful. College is not the only way to get an education. College is not the only way to grow as a person. In some cases, what someone wants to major in won't return a great ROI on to get a degree. Depending on what school you're trying to go to, depending on, again, how much money you can get for free. If you feel that degree won't return the ROI that you want to get based off the school that you're going to, then you don't have to go. You shouldn't go. It doesn't mean you shouldn't continue in that direction. You would just have to find another way to obtain the skills that you need to be successful within that field, which there are a lot of ways, which I will kind of talk about today as well. So reason number one, too expensive, which is a total good reason, great reason of why not to go to college. A lot of people, they go to college, they take out all these loans, and they spend the next 20 years, 25 years trying to pay back that money. And instead of being able to use that money for something else within their life, start a business, buy a home, get a car, or whatever, they have to use it to pay off something that they already done. So please, if you feel like it's too expensive, don't feel pressure to go to college. Reason number two of why everyone shouldn't or college isn't for everyone. There are other ways to get an education at a lower cost, or even free. So there are other ways you can get an education. You can go to a trade school. You can go to a vocational school. Those costs are a lot lower. You can probably still get grants and scholarships to go to those schools. So it will take less scholarships or less amount of grants to pay for those schools, and you can still get hands-on experience within a field that can give you a great return on your investment. And then with those type of schools, you're learning exactly what you need in order to be successful within that trade. So you're not having to take all these gen ed classes. You don't have to take all these other classes that you're not going to use once you graduate. You're going to take exactly what you need in order to be successful in that field, and probably get way more hands-on experience as well. There are also other online schools and courses you can take that can get you trained in less than a year. Some programs that can help you, again, learn exactly what you need to learn and not give you all this fluff of gen ed courses, and get you exactly what you need so you can get the career that you want to get. Some examples of those type of like courses or online schools or programs would be like in coding or IT security or electronics, those kind of fields. I'm pretty sure there's a few more, but those are the ones I was able to find that have online schools or courses that specifically are for those programs. You're not taking anything about psychology. You're not learning anything about any other subject except the one that you're putting your money towards and trying to get an education about. Even more about other resources is there are free resources or very low cost resources available as well. So YouTube, a lot of people say I got my education from YouTube University, which is good and all, but you have to, when you're using free resources, you really have to be careful with if that person or if those people have the credibility to be teaching about that subject. Because it's free, they can be talking about anything and everything and be giving you the wrong information. But because of another reason why a college or university or even a trade school costs as much as it costs is because they have to have a certain level educational standard when it comes to teaching. And they have to have accreditation, which I kind of talked about in the last episode. So definitely be careful with free resources, but there are some out there that you can use. There are other very low cost options to learn stuff from, including like websites called it's a website slash app that you can use. It's called Udemy. At least that's how I pronounce it. And then something called Skillshare. Udemy, I actually have used to learn different stuff about photography. I have some courses that are about coding. I have courses about videography. I have courses about podcasting and video editing and that kind of thing too. And all those courses that I have for a lifetime. And I probably pay less than $10 for each of those courses. And I didn't pay for them all at once. I paid for them as the time as I wanted to learn those different skills. So with Udemy, it's a website. It's an app that you can use. You can take the course. You can take it as fast or as slow as you want. You get it for a lifetime, and you can actually learn some really good skills using it. And then there's another thing called Skillshare that I know. I never used it before, but I have heard a lot about it. It's kind of like a subscription where you pay like $10 a month, and then you have access to all the courses they have available, and you can again learn different things like photography, like coding, cooking, whatever you're interested in. There's probably a course out there within one of these two options or other options as well that you can learn skills from. So those are two options that I know about, but I'm pretty sure there are thousands, or probably not thousands, but there are a lot more out there that you can learn at a very low cost. All right, moving on to reason number 3. Every profession does not need a degree. There are a lot of careers you can do that don't require a degree or even require a bachelor's degree. Like I said, in the last episode, my current job, which is a well-paying job within the field that I want to be in, and the highest degree that they asked for was associate's degree. And there are actually people that I work with that don't even have an associate's degree, and they were able to get the job because of the experience that they had before applying for the job that they have at my company. Now, again, other jobs might offer or require to have some type of training or certificate, but again, those are a lot less expensive than going to a 4-year university. Some examples of those programs that might ask for, you might have to have extra training or certificate, might be like a HVAC mechanic, dental assistant, or like a nail technician. All those things you can probably get the training or certificate you need at a lot less money than it would to be at a 4-year university, and in a lot less time. So you can get into what you want to do sooner than a year or so. There are some professions where you can get paid while you're taking the training to be in that profession. So I know like truck driving, being an electrician or a plumber, even though those might not be like the sexy careers or the careers that you see people in, but those careers, you can make a lot of money. 2, again, you can get paid while you're training for those careers. And then those are the jobs that are in need right now. So you can have a job once you graduate, or once you get your certificate, once you get your once you get your certificate or your training done, you will have a job ready for you. You might already have a skill you can make money off of without having any formal training. So maybe like I talked about, like being a photographer, or maybe you're really into programming. You got to do some programming while you were in high school, and you have enough skills to start a career within that field. Now, you might not be able to start at a Fortune 500 company, but you can start somewhere. You can probably even start your own business, where you can learn a lot more while starting your own business than you would if you just went to business school. I kind of talked about these, but some examples of some skills that you might have that you might not need you might not need a college degree to get the training that you need would be like computer programming, photographer / videographer, or an artist. Like if you like to paint, or if you're a musician, you know how to play an instrument. those type of things, if you already know how to do them, you can probably get training outside of a 4-year degree that costs a lot less money, that you can get a job that you enjoy and then work your way up to even higher paying job than starting at a 4-year college and paying to get that training that you already have. So moving on, reason number 4, don't know what you want to major in. So even though a 4-year university have the first 2 years as gen ed courses, if you don't know what you want to do, you can still be wasting money and time. So let's say you do end up going to a 4-year university and you don't know what you want to do, but you spent the first 2 years doing your gen ed courses. And then after those 2 years, you realize what you want to do. One, it might not be a program for it at your university, or you might not need a program, or have a 4-year degree in order to be successful within that career. Then you could have wasted some time and possibly some money if you have to take out loans or anything in order to find that out. So if you don't know what you want to major in, I would definitely not start off at a 4-year university. And then it's crazy. Some people even say going to college is the best place to find out what you want to be. But it's crazy. I find that crazy because that's probably the most expensive way to find out what you want to be. There are other ways to find out what you like and what you don't like. Those ways include finding mentors in your field that you're interested in, start working in the field or a closely related field, to see if you're really interested in that field, doing research in that field to see if that's really what you want to do. There are a lot of different ways to figure out what you want to do if you don't know what you want to do, that are a lot less expensive than going to a 4-year university, maybe even going to a community college. You can figure out, especially in this day and age where there's a lot of stuff online. One thing online that you can definitely look into when you're trying to figure out to find like a mentor or figure out what you want to do, you can definitely use LinkedIn. You can use that as you're in high school as well. That's a great way to find people within your field. You can message them and tell them that you're interested. And of course, you might get some people who might say no as far as like being a mentor to you. But as long as you keep pushing and asking people and showing people that you're interested, you will find someone who can be like, okay, I will like to put in the time to be your mentor, and they can possibly show you what it is, how it is to be in that field. So if you don't know what you're going to major in college, you shouldn't go to college. You should find other ways, like I talked about, to find out what you really want to do that are a lot less expensive. Reason number 5, don't have the motivation to be in the classroom for 4+ more years. And I say plus because, like I talked about in my last episode, some people, including myself, take longer to graduate. But again, that doesn't mean you're any less smart or any less qualified for other positions. But there are some people who just don't have that motivation to be in a classroom setting. And then a lot of times, if you're going to a 4-year university, a lot of your courses or a lot of your classes will be in auditoriums with 100 to 200 other students, which is a lot different than being in a classroom with maybe 20 to 30 students. And then some people, like, being in college is a lot like being in high school, where you're still sitting at a desk, you still have to do homework, you still have to take exams, and you still have to read these boring textbooks. And again, some people just don't have that in them to do that for another 4 years to get a piece of paper, which again is fine. You just have to find what you do like to do and continue doing that. And understand, classroom learning is not the best nor the only way to learn. Just because you're not going to college or you don't want to go to college doesn't mean you should stop learning, doesn't mean you should stop growing, doesn't mean you should stop having goals and accomplishing those goals. That not going to college just means you don't want to go to college and get a degree, which is fine, but that doesn't mean stop learning. And then you need a lot of motivation and discipline. I should say discipline and motivation, because discipline is way more important than motivation, because motivation can help you get through a night of getting through your homework or studying for an exam. But that discipline is what's going to push you to get that degree. Because if you just have motivation, you will lose that motivation. But if you have that discipline, you can make it through anything. And some people don't have that discipline or that motivation to stick it through those tough times or stick it through those tough classes, because again, once you elevate to your specific program courses, it will get harder and you will have to have a lot of discipline to get through those courses. So if you don't have the motivation to stick it into the classroom learning style, you don't have to be in college. You don't have to go to college, which is fine. But those are my 5 reasons of why everyone isn't going to college. What I saying? Why college isn't for everyone. But if you're still with me, I have one bonus reason I think you guys can also use. This bonus reason, if you have a business or plans to start a business. So if you're interested in being an entrepreneur, if you started a business while you were in high school, or if you have a business you want to start after you graduate high school, starting that business and going through those ups and downs is a lot more beneficial for you in your business than trying to go to a school to learn about entrepreneurship or learn about business or learn about finance. A lot of things at a university or at a school, you're learning about theoretical things. You're not really learning about practical things. You're not learning about the things that will make you successful in the business. So if you want to start a business, you don't have to go to school to start a business. You will gain more experience and have a better chance to not be in a lot of debt too. So when you start a business, you can always start small and grow up to the level of the business that you're at. But in college, no matter what program you're into, no matter what major you're interested in, you still have to pay that same amount of money. So whether you graduate, whether you don't graduate, whether you switch majors, whether you get a double major, you're paying that same amount of money. So if you don't have any scholarships or don't have enough scholarships to cover your whole tuition, you will be in debt with loans. So if you do want to start a business, you don't have to take out loans. You can start with the money that you have and grow up as your business grows. And then if the business is something you love or you're passionate about, it will help you be motivated and disciplined as you continue through the hard times. So a lot of times, again, in college, you're taking some of your courses are not things that you're interested in, but you have to take it because they're gen ed or they're required for your major. Well, hopefully in the business that you're interested in, most of the things you have an interest in. Of course, there could be some things that you're not interested in or don't have as much passion about when you're starting a business, but hopefully for the most part, most of the things that you're doing with your business you're interested in, that can motivate you and give you the discipline that you need to get through the times or get through the things that you don't like to do, or find somebody who can do the things that you don't like to do. But those are my 5+ bonus reasons why college isn't for everyone. But before I leave you, I do want to leave you with some advice of the week. Do understand college is not the only way you can get a career you love and have passion about or are passionate about. If you're not interested in college, you are not alone and you can still be successful. And lastly, just because you don't go to college doesn't mean you shouldn't continue learning and growing. I do want to say thank you for listening to this episode of the Lazenby Experience podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about this episode, please email me at lazenbyexperience@gmail.com. That's LAZENBY experience@gmail.com. Also, follow, like, share, subscribe on all the platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to your podcasts. Also, I want to remind you that season 1 is available on all those platforms as well. So if you have not listened to season 1 of the Lazenby Experience podcast, you can definitely go back and listen to those episodes as well. Lastly, if you like to read instead of listen, or you want to read instead of listen, I have blog posts for each episode available on lazenbyexperience.wordpress.com. Each episode will have its own blog post, so this episode will have a blog for you to read if you're interested in reading and taking notes that way. So once again, thank you for listening to this episode of the Lazenby Experience podcast. And until next time, continue your journey until you reach your success. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Lazenby Experience podcast. I hope you're able to get something out of it to help you with your success. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, like, share, and subscribe on all platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, and Apple Podcasts at the Lazenby Experience. Have questions about this episode or have topics you would like me to cover in the future? Send me an email at lazenbyexperience@gmail.com. That's LAZENBY experience@gmail.com. Lastly, I would like to give a huge shout out to Jamari Michael of Indigo Entertainment Group for the instrumentals you heard throughout this episode. Again, thank you for listening to the Lazenby Experience podcast, and until next time, continue your journey until you reach your success.
I see